Hari Om. Let's start with the prayer. Om Samasta Jana Kalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Tvameva Mata Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhusya Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravidam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Amadeva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Rudeva Deva. Hari Om. We have just completed the Panchakosha, the analysis, and it is required in order to say, because I identify myself with those koshas or the sheets and say I am this. So when I go from here to there, or when I am here and not there, that is, I am identifying myself with the Annamaya kosha or the gross body. You say I am here and I am not there. You are touching me. All that is with respect to the body, and that's called Annamaya kosha. Identification with the body as I am this is a kosha. And I am Pranamaya kosha. I am breathing. I am having a breathing problem. And all the problems of digestion and all that prana, pana, vyana, udana, samana, all the physiological functions I identify with, and therefore that's called pranamaya kosha, which is subtler than annamaya kosha. Then we went to the manomaya kosha. It is the mind which pervades the pranamaya and annamaya, and there the ownership through which five senses operate and then gather the information and present it to the intellect. So all the knowing things are being done by the mind level, but it is an emotional center where samsayatmikam, and also it is where all the expressions of I love, I hate, I jealousy, all that do come into picture at that level. It's the emotional thing that makes an attachment, and all the problems come at that level. And even though intellect knows what is the right thing to do, I feel like doing something even though it's not right thing to do, because of the pressure of vasanas in the emotional level. Because of my attachments, I do certain things which are not really correct, or which intellect knows is not right thing to do. But emotionally I get carried away, and that's how dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu padayate, where I get attachments, and attachment can give to the desires, and when the desire is not fulfilled, anger, and the anger becomes so intense, I lose complete discrimination and I perform actions which I regret later. All that is due to the emotional, and that is manomaya kosha. And this is a kosha that causes a lot of bondage for a lot of people, starting from Arjuna, who says because of the emotional, he breaks down in the middle of the war, before even war started, thinking that he has to kill his dear, the great grandsire, and the teachers that are on the opposite side. So that is called manomaya kosha. And in Jnanamaya kosha is the one where the knowledge takes place, and it is direct, close contact with the consciousness. Therefore it's the brilliance, therefore we call it intellect is brilliant. But the brilliancy of the intellect depends upon the purity of the intellect. So when it is tamasic, it is dull. When it is rajasic, it's agitated all the time. When it is sattvic, only through that knowledge takes place. It becomes a contemplative. So those are intellectually oriented. When you talk about intellect that is directing towards the higher knowledge, where I want to know, it has to be sattvic guna. So evolution of a human being in terms of even a sadhaka, a spiritual seeker, is one to go from a tamasic to rajasic to sattvic state. And Krishna gives elaborate description of the state of mind of a sattvic person versus a rajasic person versus a tamasic person in the 18th chapter of Gita. So the Vijnanamaya kosha is also because I get bound, I identify I am this. That's why it's kosha. So I am, whenever I identify with myself with the intellectual accomplishments of the buddhi as I have done it, that means I am identifying with it, and I worked so hard but I am not getting results of it, that also I am identifying with the Vijnanamaya kosha. And whenever I am happy, it is called Anandamaya kosha. There the Ananda is getting reflected, and that is also a kosha, and that expresses completely or fully in the deep sleep state, where all other agitations of the mind itself is folded, and it is constant awareness of non-existence of any subject-object relationships. That's what is the deep sleep state is. Now we go into yes, I am not this kosha, I am not Annamaya kosha, I am not Pranamaya kosha, I am not Manomaya kosha, I am not Vijnanamaya kosha, I am not Anandamaya kosha. Then who am I? I am Sakshi. I am the witnessing consciousness of all this kosha. This is being analyzed now in terms of this Pancha Kosha Vilakshanam. That means it's different from the 5 koshas. So who am I? I am Pancha Kosha Vilakshanaha. That means I am different from the 5 koshas. Why I am different from 5 koshas? Because I identify myself with all the 5 koshas throughout my life. So I had to contemplate that, looking at the koshas, I am not this. This may be an instrument for me to use, but I am not that. This is my car, but I am not the car. So it's easy to say I am not the car, but when it comes to body, it becomes more and more difficult, and it's subtler, this one, it's more even difficult. And when I'm happy, says I am not even that happiness also. So happy state is not even me, because I am conscious of the happy state, and absence of the and presence also I know. Therefore, that is not the pure bliss. So even the deep sleep state, therefore, is also, I slept very well, I was happy. That means I am conscious, or I was conscious of the absence of it, because I know that I did not know. All that is involved in the Panchakosha Vidachanam. Now we go into the witnessing consciousness. These are continuous slokas. These are meditative slokas again, had to be contemplated. I say I am this, will not do. I had to recognize that I am this as we go through this process of inquiry. We'll do now sloka 212, where it starts. Pancha nam api kosha nam nishede yuktitah krute. Pancha nam api kosha nam nishede yuktitah krute. Tan nishedavadhi sakshi. Tan nishedavadhi sakshi. Bodharupo vasishyate. So here he is defining what is Sakshi. Sakshi is the witnessing consciousness. Witnessing consciousness is not different from the all-pervading, the pure consciousness. That we will see slowly here. So, Panchanam api koshanam, these 5 koshas after nishede, after negating all these 5 koshas, we'll analyze what it means. Yuktitaha krute, by logical analysis that was presented before, in the past or in the previous talks. And once they nishede, once it is negated, tan nisheda avadhihi sakshi, that which is beyond this, the negated 5 koshas is sakshi, is the witnessing consciousness. Bodharupaha avasishyate. It is in the form of pure knowledge itself, pure consciousness. Bodharupaha here, pure consciousness itself, of the nature of consciousness. Avasishyate. So what is Sakshi and what is Nisheda? We have to have clear understanding here. Say Panchanam Koshalam Nishede Yuktitaha Yukrute. By logical analysis, when I reject these koshas, that I am not. So who is rejecting? How am I rejecting? This is Yuktitaha Krute, by logical analysis. So here is the very click of the problem. It says I have to use yukti. Yukti means logic. Logic can be used only by buddhi, by the intellect. So essentially this negation of I am not the 5 koshas has to be done using the buddhi. using the intellect, because we said the ignorance is in the buddhi only, not in the sakshi. Sakshi is ever free, eternally free, and in the buddhi only, and the buddhi cannot function unless it is activated by consciousness, by reflected consciousness. Reflection cannot occur unless there is no original consciousness. So who is one who is doing negation? It is buddhi supported by the reflected consciousness, which in turn is supported by the pure consciousness. That is what has to be understood. So, nishede yuktitaha, therefore by logical analysis I had to negate the reject the what I am not, and that has to be done by the buddhi. So buddhi has to reject what? Buddhi has to reject I am not annamaya kosha, I am not the pranamaya kosha, I am not manomaya kosha, and also I am not this buddhi kosha also, the vijnanamaya kosha. So buddhi has to reject itself and say that I am not this. By using buddhi I have to say I am not this also. That has to be very clear, and therefore it is very subtle process. Therefore it is not, so buddhi has to say I am not the buddhi. So who says that? It's not something different but say. Sakshi doesn't say, Sakshi has nothing to do with it. But Sakshi is there, without Sakshi nothing can be done. So Sannidhi Matrena, by its mere presence the whole activities are being done. That's what we discussed before. It's very mere presence of it. It's not doesn't it doesn't do anything, but itself the whole prakriti is activated, and therefore the buddhi is activated. But here we have to use the buddhi in a proper direction. So for that scripture becomes helpful. Scripture is helpful to the buddhi to do this yuktitaha. So nishedam. So, you are not this, you are not this, you are something different from this. Why you are not this? Because all this is are changing. Dusyatvad, bhautikatvad, sagunatvad, savikaratvad, agamapayitvad. Therefore you are not this. Why you are not this? Because I am pure consciousness, I am the same I am in all this, therefore I am not the one that changes with the pranamaya kosha. I say I am. Now I shifted myself to manomaya kosha, now I shifted to vijnanamaya kosha, now I shifted to anandamaya kosha. So koshas are changing, but I am same I am, only changing different veshas, different costumes. So having a costume is not a problem as long as I know that one, I am an actor who is wearing a costume. Without a costume I cannot be recognized also, and that's where the problem is. So I had to wear some costume, or I had to express some form, but I am not the form, and that's where the critical or subtle aspects is involved. And nisheda avadhi. So if I reject all of them, so I am not the reflecting medium, I am not the reflection, I am therefore original, that because of which the whole thing is there. That is the nisheda avadhi, the limit of that. Everything else is, after that, is sakshi. And what is the nature of sakshi? Here it says bodha rupa avasishyate. What remains is pure knowledge. So pure knowledge of what? That means I am conscious of the absence of everything using the buddhi. I am not the buddhi, and that knowledge itself is expresses as I know. So I am is expresses as pure consciousness. So when I say in the pitch dark room, are you there? Yes, I am. I am there. Where? I am, even though none of the pramanas can be valid there. Pramana means means of knowledge, because it's too dark for me to see myself. Yet I know I am there. So on what basis I know I am? Because I am self-effulgent, self-conscious entity. I am of the nature of knowledge itself, which reveals itself. So I don't need any other means of knowledge, because I am the very means of knowledge for everything. So therefore it's bodha rupaha avasishyate. I am pure consciousness, and because of me I am conscious of everything else, and that's what is called sakshi. So we go to that into analysis now, more detail. So every sloka is trying to point out in the direction negating all the five koshas, or all the objects that I can identify with I am this, I am this, I am this, ahankara itself. I am this is same as ahankara. So that's called ego. And that what is done in the next sloka, sloka 213. Yoyamatma swayam jyotihi panchakosha vilakshanaha. Yoyamatma swayam jyotihi panchakosha vilakshanaha. Avastatraya sakshi sannirvikaro niranjanaha. Sadananda savigneyaha swatmatvena vipaschita. Let's read again. Yoyamatma swayam jyotihi panchakosha vilakshanaha avastatraya sakshi san nirvikaro niranjanaha sadanandaha savigneyaha swatmatvena vipaschita. So my name is there here. So yaha I am Atma, Swayam Jyotihi. This Atma, now he is using the Sakshi and same as Atma. Atma means this is the self. What is the self? That all-pervading consciousness is the self and is a knower. Knower in the sense, the knower involves all aspects of the pure consciousness, reflected consciousness and the medium of reflection. But medium of reflection changes, therefore reflection also changes. Only changeless entity here is only pure consciousness, even though itself doesn't know, in its presence every knowledge occurs. Therefore we can say figuratively it is the real knower, because without it nothing can be known also, because it is the very nature of the consciousness. And therefore I am Atma, Yoyam Atma, Swayam Jyotihi. So what should I do in order to see myself? What do I do in the pitch dark room? What should I do in order to know that I am there? I don't have to do anything. I know I am there because it is Swayam Jyotihi. I am self-lighted. That means I need a light to see everything else, but I don't need another light to see the light. I am self-conscious and self-existent entity. So Swayam Jyotihi is alone, is self-existent entity and self-conscious entity. So when in the pitch dark room and say, are you there? Yes, I am there. That means I am existent and I don't need to be proved, and I know I am conscious entity, I know I exist there. So my existence is unquestionable for me. But if you ask me, is there a chair there? He says, I don't know, because I cannot see. So for me to say the chair exists or not, I have to see. That means I have to use a pramana for me to know whether the chair is there. So existence of an object, inert object, depends upon me, because I have to illumine the object. So when the light is there, that still doesn't illumine if I am closing my eyes. So you can turn the light on, and when I close my eyes and ask, is there a chair? I say, I don't know, because I cannot see. So I, pure consciousness, use the instrument of knowledge for me to know the existence of a chair. So knowledge can only take place through me. And you say, how about other fellow will see? But how do I know other fellow will see or not? He has to tell me. So how do I know he is telling me? But it means my instrument of hearing has to function. If I don't hear it, whatever he say, I won't know. So even his own existence also I had to see. So therefore, I am my own existence, and everything else is a dravyam, or is only an object for me, drishyatvam. Therefore, my existence is self-evident, and therefore it is self-conscious entity, is alone self-evident entity. All other things depend upon my seeing it. Therefore the existence of the object outside depends on the knowledge of my knowledge of that existence by me. Has to be understood. So Yoyamatma Swayam Jyotihi Pancha Kosha Vilakshanaha. It's different from 5 koshas that we went through. I am not the Annamaya Kosha, because Annamaya Kosha is Drusyatvat and Bhautikatvat and Sagunatvat, Savikaratvat and Agamapayitvat. So each kosha has its the 5 aspects of their applicable, and I am different from it, because it says I cannot be seen, because I am a seer. I can never be an object of my own knowledge also, nor anybody else's knowledge. Avastatraya Sakshi, I am the witness of all the Avastatrayam, that means waking state and a dream state and a sleep state. And Sat Nirvikaraha, of the Sat, of the nature of the pure existence, which is Nirvikaraha, Niranjanaha, and which is Nirvikaraha, which doesn't undergo modification, Niranjanaha, which doesn't have any impurities of any kind, Sadananda, which is always happy, Sa Vigneya, that has to be known as Swatmatvena Vipassita, that is Vigneya, to be known by Vipassitaha. Vipassita is the wise people, that means wisdom is required in order to know that I am that self, I am that Sakshi. And we go through more analysis in the next talk. With this, we stop here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.